Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Tarnation TV and the Flatout Racing Network. Simulcasting, because that's how we do what we do on a Thursday night. We're into the season number 67 here at the Tally Challenge, which is kind of a crazy number to think of, but we love doing it. And we're going to do it again. This is race number 4. Of course, my name is Blaine Donlin, joined by Kyle Matthews and Seth Cole.
Yeah, thanks, Blaine. I mean, it's incredible here that we have so many storylines looking towards maybe even the postseason. Just 3 weeks into this brand new season, 3 different drivers have gone to victory lane. A lot of interesting names have been able to establish momentum right out of the gate and find themselves currently up trying to preserve spots in the top 12 for playoff positions. And then, oh yeah, by the way, throw another monkey wrench into the system. Tonight, the bracket challenge begins. Of course, the championship within the championship season, where we're going to end up seeing 32 drivers duke it out to see who's going to be able to claim the bracket championship that Donnie Garrett claimed 1 season ago. Kyle, it's interesting too in driver mentality, because we look at the first 2 races of the season, everybody seemed to be in the must-win mentality. If you get that golden ticket into the playoffs, great. If you don't end up getting a good run, you've got a number of races still left to recover and try and get one of those 12 coveted spots in the postseason. But last week was really unusual. Seemed like a lot of drivers kind of already have switched into the long con, almost playoff racing mode. The final 2/3 of the race went clean and green. We saw a lot more emphasis on pit road, just as much as we did on the racetrack itself. Is it too early to say that a lot of these guys have kind of already swapped themselves over from must win to let's get the consistency?
I think those drivers that kind of got off to a slow start, they're probably thinking, well, let's try to get some consistency going here. You know, they feel like they're already behind the 8 ball a little bit. They're just trying to, get any good, get all the good finishes that they can. If they, unless they're in a position to win the race, they'll certainly go for it. But yeah, I think that's, consistency is on the mind of a lot of drivers right now.
Obviously, again, 4th straight week that they had to send some drivers home, go or go home qualifying. Over 40 drivers showing up to race. We're at the point now where the top 30 in points are locked into each race, so that'll be an ongoing battle as the regular season progresses. But then, of course, you have those drivers that have to make their way in on speed to even be on the grid for these respective races. For drivers that are in that type of a situation, or maybe some of those that are down outside of the top 20 in points, is it too early in the season to panic, or do we maybe start seeing some drivers fighting a little harder to get to the front, stay at the front, not only to maybe win a race to lock themselves in, but still being early on in the season, a top 5 can leapfrog you through the points?
I don't think anybody's panicking just yet, but they definitely know that there are a lot of drivers that definitely know that they need to really pick it up in terms of performance and finishing position. So a little bit more aggression, but not quite in the panic mode just yet.
Well, the field rolls off of pit road, 40 cars strong. Denny Carroll is going to draw the long straw here in the random qualifying. Comes into tonight 15th in the point standings, and he'll share the front row with Ulysses Sandoval, who sits 6th in overall standing. So both have gotten on to pretty decent starts here to begin season 67. Row 2 is going to find Terry Bombard alongside of Mike Mangialardi. I believe that's a couple of blue ovals sharing row 2. John Godfrey and Tim Nofsker, who took the checkered flag last week, ending a personal long winless streak. They're going to make up row number 3. David Little, Glenn Harris, they're going to be back row 4. And your top 10 will be completed with Doug Hulick and Greg Palmer. Row 6 going to find Josh Metallic. He's alongside of Jeff Crivello. Row 7, Brian Schilling, Chuck McClure, a couple of drivers that are no stranger to victory lane. Of course, McClure coming in the defending champion, Schilling winning the season opener. Back in row 8, you're going to find Jeffrey Elliott alongside of Dennis McCarthy. Row 9, Billy Elliser, Joe DeSpirito back in the field here tonight. And your top 20 completed with Dante Ricky. And the points leader coming into tonight, former winner of the season as well, Grant Wesley. Row 11 will be Mark Paglia and Graham McDonald. Row 12 finds Bob Seminara and Donnie Garrett. Milt Surratt and Randy Waugh.
Luigi.
They're back in row 13. Row 14 will be Tim Anderson and Rodney Sullins. Your top 30 will be completed with Ron Hagelin and Kelly Causey. Back in row 16 will be Bobby Farrell and Greg Lovell, Brian Lovell, Robert Breedlove, row 17, row 18 with Bernie Mobbs and Ken Roberts, Cody Lamas and Pat McCarsky. They'll be back in row 19 and completing the field tonight. Looks like it's going to be actually 39 drivers this evening. Jeremy Jeffries going to be the last of those in the 0-1 as the field will make their way through the tri-oval. To steal a quote from John Bon Jovi, we're about to be halfway there as the fourth race of the season is green.
A lot of them are hoping they're not going to be living on a prayer, though.
I teed up the softball. He headed out of the park.
Yeah, I knew that was going to happen. That's hilarious. I could see it coming. We're going for Bon Jovi references. Haven't even got done one lap yet.
Well, Denny Carroll got a pretty good start there, but now it looks like the outside line is more organized. Ulysses Sandoval is going to take the lead for the time being.
Is he going to take us down to the Paradise City where the grass is green and the girls are pretty? Not
Could
Bon
very
Jovi.
well.
Some Guns N' Roses right there.
I don't even like Guns N' Roses. I don't even know why I said that. It's good driving music, though.
Already a third line forming. Josh Metallic, Brian Schilling jumped up there. Doug Hewlick now going to move up there as well. We mentioned about this is very early on in the season. A lot of drivers have been able to jump up through the standings. On the flip side, a number of drivers have free fell through the standings, but Doug Hewlick is one of those drivers that is currently on the uptick coming into tonight. 10th in the point standings. He was in the conversation for the victory last week, was leading in the final stages of the race before eventually Tim Nofsker was pushed around his outside. Hewlick up 9 spots from last week, currently sits in a playoff position, but still 5 weeks to play defense.
Well, Josh Metallic got a nice push on the outside there from Brian Schilling. They're making up a lot of ground. They got the 22 of Greg Palmer right behind them as well.
On the flip side of drivers that have had hard luck here to start the season, Greg Palmer is one of those drivers. Greg qualified into the field tonight, but just barely, sitting in that coveted 30th position in points. So you know that he is definitely looking here tonight, if not for a victory, for a solid finish at least, to kind of establish some sort of momentum to start climbing back up through the standings.
Talk about momentum. Holy moly, that outside line.
Alex been off to a hot start here in the first 3 races of the season. Currently sits 7th in the standings. 2 out of the last 3 weeks, he's been up in the conversation for the victory, including last week. Ended up finishing on the podium. And now trying to find victory lane here. Yeah, all the momentum has left that inside line. You see 6, 7 different cars have now made their way around Ulysses Sandoval back to that bright orange number 29 of Mike Mangialardi. And I think that inside line is just going to continue to lose more and more ground until an outside line, a third line that is, maybe gets formed and draws this middle lane back. Maybe single file up here at the front, but they are racing tooth and nail mid-pack to the rear of the field. That last time by across the start-finish line, there were about 3, 4, 5 different rows of 3-wide racing. Still 3 wide a little further back. That's Rodney Sullins trying to make something happen back there. Kelly Causey, Ken Roberts on that outside line with him. This is outside of the top 20, around the 25th position. Number of drivers who did not get all that lucky on the qualifying draw are at the rear of the field and trying to make up that track position as quickly as they can.
Just focused on Sullins there coming through the trial, but clicking at 203 miles an hour back there. So that top line's moving.
And we've seen, even going back to last season, we've seen the fastest lap of the race clock in at anywhere from 202 to 203 miles per hour, and that's on average around this racetrack.
Yeah, because you scrub off a little speed going into the corners, but you got to think, from start line all the way back around, average speed being that fast is wild. We had Doug Hulick on the list here. Currently in 10th overall in points, was able to gain 29 positions last week. Lottery qualifying put him in 33rd, but he was able to finish 4th, which actually gave him finishing 4th last week bumped him up 9 spots in the standings, so he sits 10th now.
Looks like that's Jeffrey Elliott leading that inside line. Got help from Joe DeSpirito back in the field this week. Well, as soon as I say that, Greg Palmer jumps to the bottom, and he might have the lead here pretty soon.
I didn't check to see, but I would assume that DeSpirito put in for a provisional last week, as we've got a caution, first caution of the night on lap 7, and we've got trouble, looks like over in turn 4. 197, correction, to Pat McCarskey has been turned around. Ron Hagelin, Billy Elliser were back in the vicinity as well. Also, the 21 of Randy Waugh got some left side damage.
Yeah, that left side is all caved in there. A lot of damage on that Alabama car there.
I was just going to mention, too.
Cody's back there, too.
Got a number of drivers that have had a really good start to the season. You mentioned, Blaine, about Doug Hulick now up in a current spot. Other drivers that are up there based off consistency include Bernie Mobbs, Randy Waugh, Ulysses Sandoval, Rodney Sullins, Richard Martin up in 3rd in the standings right now, and that's a tough break there for the 21 car, depending on just how much damage he got. I think we also had an incident. We'll try and see if we can get a camera on it afterwards that happened on the back straightaway as the drivers were slowing down for pacing. I think it was somewhere around the vicinity of the 92 of Bobby Farrell.
Well, he just got bottomed up there on the bottom. Big checkup of some sort.
Oh, wow, because the 92 actually, I don't want to say that he caused the yellow, but there was a gnarly checkup. So you can see that right here on the replay, there's a Crivello up front, causes a checkup. So it's not the 92's fault. Everybody's stopping. He actually got through that.
Checkup actually happens further up than Crivello. It's up actually 2-3 cars ahead. I think either with the 83 of David Little or maybe even the car ahead of him. Like it just accordions back from, I think it's Terry Bombard to David Little to Glenn Harris to Jeff Crivello. And amazingly enough, with all that checkup, I think it was the 6th, 7th, and 8th cars in that checkup line that ended up wrecking.
Yeah. As I said, they almost got away with it. There's so many cars here too, though. Like you say, you got 39 cars starting. So then we're on the 92, yeah.
Just a big bottleneck on the bottom. I'm not sure what caused that, but
it's a slow motion incident, though. It looks like he's under 70 mile an hour.
And there was an incident, looked like under caution after they took the flag there. Not sure what happened there, but
well, Kyle, you brought up the question, and for those that might be wondering at home as well, of how that incident in turn 3 takes place, how we end up having that type of checkup, that type of accordion effect. Blaine, you hit the nail right on the head. Massive field here tonight. And when you have more cars in a pack, that is more energy that the drivers mid-pack to rear of the field get. It's more draft, it's more tow, which equals out to more speed when you're entering into a corner. So when you end up having those drivers that were up towards the front of the incident, like Terry Bombard, David Little, while they're lifting for the entry of the corner to scrub off speed so that they don't have that closing rate taking the shorter way around the racetrack, the communication maybe doesn't necessarily get back to those 5th, 6th, 7th cars in line, and that ends up leading to the checkup that we see. A lot of times drivers will, in verbal communication, say check bottom, check top. They will give that information to the drivers behind them so that way they are forewarned to let out of the throttle, breathe it a little bit, entering into the corner, give a little bit of space between their front bumper and the back bumper of the car in front. Doesn't always happen in time, though, and that's why we saw the incident we did.
Looks like 5 cars stayed out under that first time around when pit road was open. Saw them come down pit road, giving the lead back to the pole sitter, Denny Carroll. Looks like that first pit position came in handy for him right there.
That was at least a bonus point for a lap led for Graham McDonald in the 33. We ended up seeing with the number of cautions we had in the first 2 races, a lot of gamesmanship like that of drivers willing to give up track position to stay out, lead a lap under pacing. We talk about how a lot of times towards the end of the regular season, we'll see drivers make it into the playoffs by just 1 point, and you could translate it all the way back to the first couple of races of the season. The leading of a lap or the not leading of the lap could be a huge difference maker to whether you're going to be a playoff driver or not.
And other people listening probably thinking, it's just 1 point. That doesn't sound like a big deal. Well, I mean, we've seen, like you just said, that 1 point can make a huge difference here toward the end of the season. It's crazy how it is, but, you know.
I mean, it literally comes down to, in a tiebreak situation, you could probably go from wins to top 5s, top 10s, and then maybe to laps led. I don't know how far down, but if it ever got that far.
I don't know what the next step would be.
And then you had like one more. Oh, you know what? It's a good thing I stayed out and led that one lap, and that could literally be it. With so many drivers that can compete, week to week in all these different leagues that we broadcast, it could happen.
Certainly could. And this is one of 2 series that Rolling Thunder Gaming runs that implements the playoff system. So every point does matter, and maybe even more difficult to get it on a Thursday night because of just how wadded up everybody is with pack racing at a super speedway. Danny Carroll's going to lead us back to green with Greg Palmer to his outside. Josh Metallic, Brian Schilling, Jeffrey Elliott will be the top 5. Grant Wesley, Bob Seminara, Joe DeSpirito, Tim Knopsker, Donnie Garrett. That's going to be your top 10 as Chevrolet on the bottom. Ford Mustang on the top will put us back under green on to lap 11. It's like everybody involved in that wreck that brought out the first yellow have made repairs to their race cars, are back out on the racetrack. All 39 drivers still up to speed at this point in time, all running and all on the lead lap. Saw last season Denny Carroll pick up his first win of his career here in the series, locking himself into the playoffs. Also fought in the finals against Donnie Garrett for the Bracket Challenge Championship. We'll reveal what that bracket looks like here in just a little bit. The top 32 drivers in points were put into a bracket system. First race of the Bracket Challenge here tonight, and those that are going to be eliminated from the winner's side of the bracket here this evening will still have a second chance throughout the entirety of the season, even up into the playoffs, to still be able to fight for the title. That's how Denny Carroll got into the finals, as a matter of correction. It was Donnie Garrett that actually got into the finals to win the whole thing. Denny Carroll ended up winning the winner's side of the bracket. Garrett won the loser's side of the bracket, and the two faced off against each other in the final 2 races of last season.
Didn't take long for them to get a third lane going, and they've already made it all the way up to the front. Ulysses Sandoval was leading that for a bit there, then Grant Wesley jumped up in front of him, and now
lightning never strikes
Wesley's battling
twice.
for the lead with
Wesley's
Denny
hoping
Carroll.
that's not true, because that throwback Dale Jr. scheme is the same scheme he put in Victory Lane 2 weeks ago. He'd love to double down in that throwback and be the first multi-time winner here in season 67.
Well, lightning technically, I guess you could say it did strike twice, because Barnhart Jr. won with that paint scheme, so then Wesley did it a couple weeks ago. I never heard anything about lightning striking 3 times, though.
Grant have to make a decision there as he went middle with Ulysses Sandoval, but saw that inside line surging forward, so he covered the bottom. Gets in front of Denny Carroll, Josh Metallic, Jeffrey Elliott, and now potentially Bob Seminara going to clear on that inside line. I love the creativity of that 712. Of course, you don't see a number per se on the side of that Chevrolet. It's the 711 logo, but it says 712 instead. Pretty creative there.
That's very cool. I was going to mention that too. I thought that was pretty neat.
I didn't realize that was Seminara at first right there. I'm so used to seeing the 712, but I like the paint scheme. That is a Kyle Petty throwback to back in the mid to late 80s. Ran that for a couple of seasons, I believe. And believe it or not, that was actually a Wood Brothers car that Kyle Petty drove when he had the 7-Eleven sponsorship. You think of the Wood Brothers, you think of the number 21, but just with that sponsorship, they've changed the number over to 7. So they were pretty creative even back then.
Here comes that middle line. I love watching those bump. Oh, Wesley saw that one.
He
Jeffrey Elliott gives him a wallop.
As a massive shove, and
yeah,
we've had drivers document, even last week when we talked to a couple of the drivers that finished on the podium, they said, man, the comfort level of being able to not only just push, but shove with these race cars down the straightaways. A lot of times it's obviously thrilling if you're able to get your line going, but it can also be treacherous if those bumpers are not lined up just the least little bit, could lead to some calamity. These drivers love the way that this mod works with super speedway racing, being able to lock those bumpers and give those what we call chain bumps down the straightaways. And those chain bumps, they start from 6 cars back. You look at Brian Schilling back there, that yellow number 4, getting a push there from Ken Roberts. If they had a little bit more of a run off of turn 2, he would have given a shove to Palmer, who in turn would have kept that push going all the way up to Sandoval, Seminara, Elliott, and then to the leader, Grant Wesley.
After racing with Jeffrey Elliott over the years, I know he runs a really high steering assist on big tracks like this. So you can push him through the corners and he can hold it, because he's got a little bit more of assist, so it's not going to get too squirrely if you give him a smack in the corners. But and Wesley's the same way. You know you can hit that guy.
Well, that's always a risky move, though. I never wanted to hit anybody in this, in the center of the corners.
Not so much in the corner, no, but you could latch onto them before the corner and push them through it. But even like that, Jeffrey hit Wesley, like bump dropped him pretty hard there, but just before the turn, so it was perfect timing. Because you don't want to do it when you start to turn the steering wheel. It could end badly.
I've had that end badly for me many times.
Yeah.
I think we all have. We've got some gamesmanship going up here at the front of the field. Sandoval for a moment jumped to the inside of Bob Seminara. Seminara got himself cleared, and now he jumps down in front of Denny Carroll, and he'll challenge Grant Wesley for the lead. Third line starting to form. Now Jeffrey Elliott will find himself stuck in the middle with no help, as Wesley's going to cover the run that Palmer had from help of Brian Schilling.
Look at the 56 car. That is what you call the sucker hole right there. When you have absolutely nobody behind you in that middle groove, you're just going to go all the way back, hoping you find an opening. But it's got somebody behind him right there.
Jeremy Jeffries, I believe.
Okay.
It's like a vacuum. It's like you're stuck in a vortex.
Yeah, I was kind of keeping an eye on a few drivers that started towards the back of the pack via the random qualifying draw. We documented Rodney Sullins working his way to the front via the high line prior to that first caution. He's back up in that third lane with Ken Roberts and John Godfrey, and they are making a ton of ground up. Joe DeSpirito, a couple cars behind him, but I was also keeping an eye out for the defending champion, Chuck McClure. He's right now back either just inside or just outside of the top 20. He crossed the line last time by in the 20th position. He's up in that third lane. And we also just mentioned the name of Jeremy Jeffries, who picked up Jeffrey Elliott in that middle line. He started shotgun on the field, and last time by he was scored in the 25th position. I'm not sure it's as much the fact that these drivers are being a little bit more patient in working their way to the front. I think it's more so in the fact that, again, we talk about the comfort level of being able to push with this mod. It is taking a little bit longer for these respective lanes, the middle groove, the third line, to make the forward progress that we've seen in the past end up taking sometimes, if you got the right momentum, the right drivers. Oh, man, the right.
Made a little bit of contact. I thought that was going to be big right there, but they did a good job of hanging on to that.
Yeah, that checked off Grant Wesley as well, and that's going to split everybody up. But no, there were times where we would see Chuck McClure qualify towards the back of the pack, and then within 5 laps, he was up inside the top 10. It's like, how the heck do you do that? Not quite as rapidly getting to the front our driver is here tonight.
Let's see Sandoval going to get the lead there on the outside. Drafting help coming from Josh Metallic. It's a little bit early for Ulysses to be up front.
Ulysses coming into this race 6th in points. And the thing that's incredible, too, you look at the stats and you look at the top 5s and top 10s of drivers so far after 3 races. And it doesn't really, in one's mind, make sense. Ulysses Sandoval only has 1 top 10 in the first 3 races, only 1 top 5 in the first 3 races, and he's sitting top 10 in points. How does that work? Well, that shows you how difficult it can be to establish a sense of consistency here in a super speedway series.
Yeah, he's consistently been in the picture and hadn't always finished up, but he's put himself in a position to get a good finish or a potential win. So, I mean, that's really all you got to do if you want to establish some sort of consistency, and it's worked out for him so far in the point standings.
How you guys digging that new camera angle? I call it the Josh Metallicam.
There you go. Great look back there at the inside line, trying to charge its way up there, being led by Bob Simonera.
Coming up on, I believe that's Randy Water putting a lap down there. It's that left side damage we saw on his car is a lot worse than we thought.
Definitely aero damage, for sure. And now he's just hanging on and hoping that this race turns into one of attrition, that more drivers will run into issues.
Oh, speaking of which,
almost around to the back, Graham
car.
McDonald. Oh, and he's hit hard along with Ron Haglund. That 33, I think, actually has been up and over. I'm not sure we're under yellow. No, all that transpired down below the yellow line.
You could see the roof damage right there. He definitely has been upside down, and the 111, the front end.
Oh, my goodness.
Absolutely destroyed.
This was off of turn 2. Graham McDonald gets hooked in the right rear by Jeffrey Elliott, and then right down into the path of Ron Hagelin, and that is a massive impact.
Huge impact for both of them.
Wow. I don't even know who had worse impact. Hagelin pinned it right to the wall, and those guys are going to need to visit the infield care center.
Reminds me of the wreck that Kyle Larson had here back in, I believe it was 2019, the spring race on the last lap there. Had a wild ride on the last lap that brought out the caution there.
Jeffrey Elliott might need to serve a penalty on that one, even though there's no yellow. That would still be, you could still get penalized for that, correct?
Correct. Good point. Yeah, if you end up causing an incident that doesn't bring out the yellow flag, pass-through penalty is the way that you basically give up that track position to avoid a post-race penalties. Yeah, we'll keep an eye on that blue 56 towards the tail end of the field here.
It's a little bit off of the pack there, it looks like, so he might be hit road to serve that penalty if there is one.
Yeah, it was interesting before we came on the air. I was watching these drivers in practice, and I looked at Ron Hagelin's car. I'm so used to him being a Chevrolet, and I looked at the front of that car. I'm like, that's not a Chevy. Is that a Toyota? I went in for a closer look. The only driver in the field tonight that was piloting a Pontiac Trans Am, but did not find a whole lot of luck there on the back straightaway. Neither did the Dodge. of Graham McDonald, and I would be very surprised if either of those drivers are able to continue. I mean, even if they do, well, looks like Hagelin has actually come back out onto the racetrack, but I doubt either of those drivers, if they are able to continue this race, are going to be anywhere close to up to speed. They're going to be almost in the same category as Randy Waugh, just try and survive to the end.
And you saw him. I mean, didn't even go to the outside. He just went right to the apron and kind of stopped a little bit, let everybody go by. So, yeah, that car got to be way off the pace right now.
You could see in the replay there, too, when the car got turned around backwards and the hood flaps came up. Rodney Sullivan's paint job on the 111, it said, "My driving scares me too," underneath the flap.
I love it when people do that. I love it when they paint every part of the race car.
Oh, man. Rodney's been doing some crazy stuff with the steering wheels, and he's told me he's put Easter eggs in a couple of these cars, and I was staring right at one he told me one week, and I didn't notice it, but I don't know from where. So now I'm just like, every time I get into replay mode, I'm looking for stuff, and he paints everything. Roll
And
bars,
Rodney's a
window
very
nuts. Yeah.
Very talented painter.
I remember our broadcast colleague, Matthew Rodriguez, and I kind of stole this idea off of him a couple of times with paints of mine. One time I ended up looking at a replay of his, and he had painted underneath his two respective hood flaps, "Oh no."
Right. Oh, and no, they each had. Yep.
If you're seeing this, something bad has happened.
Yeah. Caution. Flip over. Yeah, something like that. Right side up, this side down, something like that.
We got drivers
Fragile.
pitting. Hands out the windows. Radio's lighting up. Getting ready for our first round of green flags, and race leader Sandoval is going to bring him down.
Looking good so far. Ken Roberts off in the grass a little bit. Makes it back going.
15, 20 cars all choreographing their way there to the commitment line, and despite the 55 getting a little off track, pretty organized. Glenn Harris with another boring entrance this week.
Yes, I have that replay. So somebody clipped, I think it was Josh clipped it for me. I need to get on that. That greatest pit stop I've ever seen.
Will never be beat.
I don't. It's gonna be tough.
Or if it does get beat, someone's gonna have to do something really dramatic. Because,
oh man,
you'll
have to do
that's
the
top
same.
of the list.
You'll have to do the same thing, but then thread the needle on like 7 other cars.
Man,
Maybe
we have
spin it around. That might be about
we
it.
have the Olympics coming up. I don't know what competition that would be a part of. Man, if that doesn't get a gold medal, I don't know what would.
No.
A lot of times for like all-star race events, they'll have the pit stall challenge, the pit stop challenge. That needs to be a challenge for qualifying positions in an all-star race. Who has the coolest entrance onto pit road for a green flag pit stop? Just get like 3 judges that have the placards 1 to 10, have them judge that.
And that would be like the one NASCAR race that like Travis Pastrana would be on the line. Like, why is he out? That's really weird. Why is he here? Oh, because he's going to win that. Black flag 55.
We saw him out into the grass, obviously carrying a little bit too much speed that sent him out there, and I guess didn't get it woed down to the 55 miles per hour by the time he got to the commitment line. So that's a tough break there for Ken.
I believe he just served it, actually.
Also got a couple of drivers that in the last couple of laps have retired out of the race. Ron Hagelin, who we saw involved in that massive impact with Graham McDonald, has taken his car back behind the wall. And Jeffrey Elliott looks like he has also retired from the race. So 2 drivers currently in the DNF category. Have to see how many drivers are on the lead lap once this cycles around. I believe it's going to be 35, but we'll wait for it all to update here on the scoring pylon.
Black flag 26 LSR.
Grant Wesley is the race leader after all those green flag pit stops. Ulysses Sandoval, Denny Carroll, Bob Seminara, Tim Nofsker all up there.
Something right now for Elliser and Roberts getting these early black flags. A lot of times we'll say, if you're going to get a black flag, get it early. Now you have the second half of the race to mount a comeback if you get a caution. But last week, we only had the one yellow in the early going of the race, and then we went green the rest of the way. We are trending in that direction again tonight. There's not a guarantee for those drivers that got hit with these early penalties that they're going to get that mulligan.
I think that's how it was. I think that's how it's been the last two races, actually. Only one caution early on, and then green flag race and the rest of the way. Don't know how that one incident we had on the backstretch didn't bring out a caution. I guess just because it happened at, below the racing surface, but...
And that's the thing about Rolling Thunder is that could, obviously, in an actual NASCAR race, that would have been a yellow flag, but they let the game handle all that stuff. They could throw
sure
a yellow,
that?
but...
Are we sure that would have been a caution for NASCAR?
Oh, I hope so. Jeez, those guys might not have had their legs in 100% working order after that, the way that the 111 hit that wall. Would have crushed that car right back to the firewall.
We saw Glenn Harris go a lap down. This is
He'll buff out.
Yeah, right. This is the portion of the race where things get spread out after the cycle of green flag pit stops. About a half dozen drivers right now kind of running by themselves. I think a trio of them have found each other and are trying to work together, praying for a yellow flag to save them. But right now, we've only got about 19 drivers up in this lead pack, potentially 20. Greg Palmer is trying to stay in touch with this group. He's trying to use some of the cars that just got lapped, including Glenn Harris, to draft his way back up here. But right now, back to Doug Hewlick in the 19th position are your lead lap cars in the hunt, with Wesley showing the way. And we end up seeing more often than not the drivers that lead the most laps in these races are usually the ones that are up there at the end contending for the victory. Right now, you'd have your two highest lap leaders, P1 and P2. 10 laps led for Wesley, 9 laps led for Ulysses Sandoval. And then right behind them, you got the pole sitter who led the first 3 laps of this race, Denny Carroll. I have to go back and check. But it's been a while since we've had a driver go coast to coast, start in the pole and win the race. Denny Carroll's been up here inside of the top 5 pretty much the entire evening. Might be able to pull that off.
He's pretty consistent that way, I find. A lot of guys, especially Carroll, like he'll kind of just be there the whole time, Not necessarily leading, but also, although he did have a couple of bad weeks there, maybe I'm thinking of different leagues, but sometimes you just get caught up in all kinds of incidents. But
and it amazes me when drivers are able to find that kind of consistency, because we harp on it all the time, but it's so true. No super speedway race, no 2 super speedway races are ever the same. And so, 1 week, you may have the benefit that Denny did right here of starting the evening on the pole position, but next week he could start dead last. And you have to plan your strategy accordingly, whether it be who you work with on the track, when you come to pit road, what group of drivers you come to pit road with. All sorts of variables come into play, and when you're able to do what, in the case of Grant Wesley, so far this season, it's his 3 finishes inside the top 10. We were able to do something like that, starting from different positions in the field, different sets of circumstances, in each one of the 66 lap events. That is an incredible feat.
well, like you say, no 2 races are exactly the same. We race on the same track every week here on Thursdays, and sometimes they're using a different line. Middle line's always the most common, but some weeks everybody's running the high side for some reason, and it's strange. The track doesn't change, but it's just the vibe,
Same track, same mod. I'm guessing the same setup. I'm not positive on that one, but see something different every single week. It's quite amazing.
And usually, each week, same 4 set of drivers.
Mm-hmm.
May have some differences with the DNQs from week to week, but usually the same 25 to 30 drivers every Thursday night.
Was there a knockout today? Because it's a full house.
There was a knockout today. I believe Keith Bynum, Chris Elliott were amongst a couple that didn't qualify. Michael Norman was going to make his second start of the season here tonight, but he had an incident 2 weeks ago, so he was a DNQ and didn't know that, and he qualified tonight, so he was did not start.
Somebody got knocked onto the apron right there. I think it was
44.
Brian.
Yeah. Not sure exactly what happened with him, but he at least stayed with the lead pack. A little door bang off of turn 2 with Glenn Harris, looks like. Little hip check, I guess you could call it.
Oh, yeah, it looked like the 44 touched the apron. That'll upset the car a little bit.
It's interesting, when we closed last week and leading into this week, you know, the running storyline was 3 races, 3 different winners going to victory lane. Could we see a 4th here tonight? But the odds right now are looking pretty favorable of first multi-time winner on the season. Look at the leaders of the 2 respective lines. Grant Wesley, who won 2 weeks ago up top. Tim Knopfsker, who went to victory lane last week. And, oh, by the way, our season opener winner is currently 5th on that outside line here in the top 10, Brian Schilling. So we could have a driver that's already locked into the playoffs, maybe double down and get their second win of the season here tonight.
And we got a lot of big names up here who have yet to win yet this season that can continue the streak of different winners as well. So Ulysses Sandoval, Denny Carroll, Jeremy Jeffries, Bob Seminara, Chuck McClure. Defending series champion is up here in this pack, the 3rd car on the inside line.
Number of those drivers you just named off, we talked about last week. Tim Knopfsker kind of ending his own personal winless streak. It's been a while since we've seen quite a number of these drivers in victory lane, including the Kelly Causey machine. Same for Bob Seminara, Dante Ricky, Donnie Garrett. Donnie's one of those drivers, whenever we talk to him, he says his mentality is top 5 and top 10 him to death. He is Mr. Consistency when it comes to his mentality, but we've seen tail end of last season and into this season, he has been up in the conversation for victories as well. You just get the feeling that at some point he's going to get one of these things.
Reminded of what Richard Petty said many years ago, the best you can do in any given race, put yourself in a position to win. Circumstances will dictate the outcome. Go under there with the strategy of getting a top 5 or a top 10, you're going to win your fair share of races.
Well, things still somewhat cloudy as to who will be the first 16 advancees in the Bracket Challenge Championship, as we're closing in on 20 laps to go in the next few laps or so. We mentioned we would give you a rundown of who is facing off against who, so that way you know who the driver you're rooting for is trying to beat here tonight position-wise. Grant Wesley, by virtue of coming into tonight's race as the points leader, is the number 1 seed in the bracket, taking on the 32 seed in Cy Jones. Denny Carroll taking on Jeremy Jeffries. Bernie Mobbs is facing off against Jeff Crivello. Looks like Bobby Farrell right now in pretty decent shape to move on to the next round, as he's taking on Randy Waugh, who is sporting that damage from the earlier caution. Bob Seminara, he's taking on Mike Mangialardi. Glenn Harris taking on John Godfrey. Harris has fallen a lap down, so he'll need to get that lap back to contend with the 7-11. Rodney Sullins is facing off against Greg Palmer. Tim Knopfsker, who's battling for the lead right now, he's facing Billy Elliser. Brian Schilling going up against Robert Spring, who I believe is not in the field tonight, so Schilling will move on by default. Robert Breedlove will also be moving on tonight, as he was going to go up against RJ Cabana. Josh Metallic taking on Mark Paglia. Doug Hulick facing Chuck McClure. Richard Martin going up against Terry Bombard. Kelly Causey going up against Joe DeSpirito. Ulysses Sandoval facing off against Milt Surratt. Greg Lovell taking on the defending champion of the Bracket Championship from last season, Donnie Garrett. And it's funny because a lot of times when we talk to drivers, whether it's victory lane or on the podium, a lot of times we ask them, what was your mentality when you were trying to defend for the lead or go for the lead? And they say, well, first off, I want to make sure I didn't wreck the cars. That way I move on to the bracket challenge. So it's a priority for these drivers just as much as getting into the playoffs or fighting for the overall championship is.
Guys, championship, but that bracket challenge, they take a lot of pride in that thing. So
still 19 drivers in this lead that are on the lead lap, and oh, by the way, at least one more trip to pit road that these drivers are going to have to make as well. These drivers were last on road around laps 26 to 28. We're going to see them on pit road here within the next 5 laps. This should be the money stop. This should be the final time that they'll have to come to pit lane. Should get them in the window to make it the rest of the way, provided they're able to get to the completion of lap 46, which I'm pretty sure they'll be able to do.
I didn't even realize we were that late into the race. This thing has really flown by, and that's really what you get when you only have one caution so far.
Have to see if a lot of those guys in that second lane there being led by Sandoval, if they start trying to find some spaces on the bottom, maybe make their way onto pit road. Remember, Ulysses Sandoval actually, I believe he led the first group to pit lane at the start of the first cycle of pit stops. So he would, with leading the line right now and being one of the first onto pit road during that previous cycle, he would, I would assume, be one of the first ones onto pit road this time, and really difficult to pit from the second lane, especially if Grant Wesley's planning on staying out an extra lap.
I'm sure there's a lot of communication going on amongst everybody, well, now Ulysses gets to the inside, clears Wesley for the race lead.
That was exactly what he needed, so that way he'll have the easier access onto pit road. Be some traffic just up ahead. It's like that trio of drivers I talked about earlier, Cody Lamas, Pat McCarskey, and Bobby Farrell. They finally are going to get reeled in by the race leaders. And that should leave us with 29 drivers on the lead lap, as I believe we may see the 96 of Sandoval on pit road this time by. This is what we call the money stop. You make a mistake now, it's going to be very difficult to get back from it and keep yourself in the conversation. The win.
The pit road, somebody locking him up right there. Donnie Garrett and Jeremy Jeffries get together.
They were making contact a lot. Maybe they both keep it straight, but Jeffries did indeed spin around. Fortunately for him, he was able to still get into his pit stall, which was one of the first ones at the entrance of pit lane.
It's going to be a much longer pit stop. He didn't expect to have to repair any damage beforehand. Looks like he got a lot of back end damage.
The majority of that group onto pit road safely. A couple of drivers getting together there, though. We'll see how the second group does. It's going to be led down by that Pabst Blue Ribbon Chevrolet, last week's winner, Tim Nofsker.
Oh, the beautiful dance. Uh-oh.
No, somebody off
the
course.
Yeah.
And we've got
Surratt around.
Spinners at the back, yep. I think that was Jeff Crivello and Milt Surratt that might have made some contact. Everyone fortunately able to get their cars turned around on both the incidents of the respective groups. But we had 19 drivers up in the lead pack after the first cycle. I think we're going to have a lot less than that once everything cycles around this time by. Trying to remember last week, I think we had, I want to say 11 drivers in the lead pack in the hunt for the victory in the closing stages of that one. We'll see if we equal that, or if we maybe even have less cars than that here as we are past the 15 laps to go mark.
See about 5 cars in this group right here. Led by Grant Wesley and Aguila and Sandoval and Causey right there. Seminara with them as well.
Aguila must have had a really pit stop, as he's bookended between the two drivers that led that first group down pit road, Wesley and Sandoval.
Grant Wesley, I noticed, had a great road entry. He actually got by Sandoval as they came down pit road. Sandoval was leading him down there, but Wesley was able to get by him initially right there and got out ahead of him too.
Grant coming off a victory last night. Completely different racetrack than what he's dealing with here tonight. Took an Aero 88 victory at the Chicago Street Course.
Black Flag 84, Riki.
Oh, that is a tough there for Dante, because he would have, it looks like, cycled around in the 3rd position.
Yeah, currently being scored in 4th. Not going to last long, no.
So we'll probably see him scout a couple of laps here. Hope that maybe he can get pulled out by a caution. I believe you're only able to turn 3 laps before the scoring no longer recognizes your car.
Yeah, you'll be disqualified after 3 if you don't pit.
So after all those green flag pit stops, Brian Schilling is now the leader. We have not seen him up front this whole race. Man, that was a hell of a pit stop he must have had. Oh boy, that's getting dicey there, 33.
Yeah. A little tight 3 wide there as they were trying to get around the wounded. By, tough break there for him.
Here goes Dante serving his penalty.
And you see your top 4 right here. Schilling, Nofsker, Metallic, McClure. We see them week in, week out, working together, strategizing together. Schilling and Nofsker, they previously won this season. Metallic and McClure, they're trying to find their way to victory lane to lock in. A lot of times when we talk with drivers that get those wins early on in the season, ask them their strategy for the remainder of the regular season, one of the things at the top of the list is help a teammate win. Get them into the playoffs. Well, how are you going to get the 39 and the 17 in front of you when you got all those other drivers behind as well? That might mess up the plans. Greg Lovell's there in 5th, Doug Kulik in 6th, Wesley right now in the 7th position after leading 18 laps here tonight. Aglia, Sandoval, and Causey right now, your top 10. Like scoring is showing 10 lead lap cars in this group. There's about 15, 16 drivers in this pack, but the trailing cars are all currently 1 or more laps down, fighting for potentially one of those lucky dog positions. Well, 2 of those lucky dog positions, I should say.
I'm pretty sure the whole help a teammate win strategy only applies when you're not in a position to possibly get another victory. As you see with Brian Schilling out in front, and Tim Nosker in 2nd.
Like the leaders are closing up on Joe DeSpirito in the 24. Mentioned Joe wasn't in the field last week. Plummeted 13 spots in the standings from 6th to 19th. And right now he is scored in the 27th position. So going to be another poor week for him, points-wise.
It's uncharacteristic for DeSpirito. He's usually up here contending for the victory, so I don't know what's going on with that 24 car tonight. But
the tough thing for him, and a number of drivers that we don't end up seeing race here week in, week out, if they end up missing a race, is they can put in for a provisional, which gives them points, but when we're talking about every single week, go or go home, qualifying 40 starters, that's not a whole lot of points. I mean, it's better than a 0 in the points column, but it's a drop in the bucket for sure.
Do you get last place points for a provisional?
I don't know if it's last place points or if it's like 5 points less than last place. I'm not exactly sure
But
what
when
the
you have a full
pays
field,
out, but it can't be a lot.
yeah, the full field, like if if there was 12 people here, you get a pretty good chunk, but when there's 40, it's a little different.
We're coming up here shortly to 10 laps to go. Pay window is starting to slowly open, and I've been keeping an eye towards the middle portion of this lead pack, trying to figure out if a move is made to the front, who is it that's going to make it, and maybe have some allies to help him. I'm looking at that 23 of Doug Kulik. I've been watching the last couple of laps. He, Grant Wesley, Mark Paglia, they've backed the pace off a little bit, created space between themselves and the top 5, and then kind of tested the waters to see where they get a run. They may squirrel that away potentially for making a move in the closing stages.
Now it looks like he's back off just a little bit to try to get that run if he can. Trying to experiment a little bit, it looks like.
Always the question of timing when it's the super speedways. When is potentially too soon, or on the flip side, when is it too late? Fuel should no longer be a concern for any of these drivers, so basically it's whatever happens, happens from this point on. Caution would certainly shake things up, as we still do have 26 drivers on the lead lap after cycling through 2 rounds of green flag pit stops. David Little, Mike Mangialardi currently scored the first 2 cars 1 lap down in the free pass positions, and they are up here in this lead pack in draft. Next car they would have to worry about would be the 24 of Joe DeSpirito. DeSpirito right now about 3-4 cars behind them, actually battling with Cody Lamas. I believe that is not for position. Cody is currently 2 laps down, DeSpirito -1. So there are 4 drivers in this pack. Add in Ken Roberts that are fighting for those 2 lucky dog positions, and now add another one into that conversation, as I just noticed Dante Ricky going a lap down. So 5 drivers battling for the top 2 positions 1 lap down, should they get bailed out by a late race yellow.
I'm thinking it's kind of weird that we're within 10 to go and we're just, the top, 13 drivers you're looking at here. Just single file. I mean, I say that out loud, now it'll change. Surprised they're not doubling up here, trying to make something happen in these last 6 or 7 laps.
I'm just waiting for that bell to go off and everyone just starts racing. We see that quite a bit here late in the going, so it's only a matter of time.
Once somebody steps out, I'm sure he's going to have a bunch of friends.
Might get it right here. That is a big run. The 23 of Doug Kulik's going to get down the back straightaway. And he's not going to take it anywhere, as he'll lift out of the throttle a little bit there.
That's probably about the spot you'd see it happen, though.
Right in that 6th position. Yeah, a lot of times we'll end up seeing drivers wait until the last lap to make moves. And I can understand the mentality, because obviously you don't want to make too early and then get shuffled to the back. But a lot of times I've seen where drivers have had an opportunity with 3 laps to go, 4 laps to go, and don't take it. And then when you try making moves on the last lap, you've got all those drivers up there that are playing defense. They stifle your momentum, and that's all she wrote. I think if I'm Kulik, Wesley, those drivers back there, may seem too early to the driver's mentality, but I think I start expecting now.
You start picking away at it. That way, if you do get stifled, you have another chance.
If anything, you've got a shot of breaking those guys at the front up. Because right now, they're all working together, and they may end up playing some defense for each other on that final lap as well. Better to go up against 1 or 2 of them than all 4.
Mm-hmm. And if not to go for a win, maybe you want to mess up somebody else's win. Those top 2 have each won a race here already. So
Trying to get something going on that outside line. Look like Bob Seminara's leading that group. He's got the lap car of Joe DeSpirito with him and a couple of others up there.
You know why else I would make a move if I'm Doug Hewlick? That car 2 positions ahead of him, Chuck McClure. Guess what? They're battling each other in the bracket series tonight.
There you go. Even more incentive.
This would be the point of the race that previously we would have dubbed the point of no return. But remember, they have that new EXE that allows them the opportunity. Oh, yeah, here we go. Allows them the opportunity to add or detract pacing laps. So a yellow right now, we probably would still be able to get back green as Chuck McClure block that run on the inside. He'll get to the driver's side door of Josh Metallic for 3rd place. And look at the 3rd line coming there. Bob Seminara with the help of some lap machines and Joe DeSpirito and Dante Ricky.
I believe somebody rang that bell. So here they go.
yeah, we are definitely not single file anymore.
Yeah, the 712 was the first car I saw, go and actually step out to make a move right there, and everybody else starting to follow suit.
Wesley's going to jump up in between Hewlick and Seminara. See if they try and form a 3rd line. Yeah, Wesley's peeking there off of turn 4, testing the waters, seeing if anybody's willing to go up there with him. Lure 1 season removed from claiming another championship here on Thursday nights. Would love to lock himself back in the hunt to go for back-to-back. Losing a bit of ground down there, though. That middle line prevailing for the moment. Going to be 2.5 laps here down the back straightaway.
Oh, nice move by Seminara, top to bottom, right in front of Chuck McClure now.
Yeah.
Had some good momentum. Can he keep it off of the corner here through the tri-oval? Needs McClure to get right up to his back bumper to counter that run the top. Ooh, here comes Grant from top to bottom, and we may see that quite a bit here with these top 3 maybe as well.
White flag next time by.
Dylan Nofsker previously have won this season. Metallic looking for his first win. I was wondering, would he jump down there?
He did for a brief second, but gets back behind Nofsker.
Oh, is Josh going to make a move up or down? There it is.
There he goes.
The 84 up there on the outside line. These are lap down cars. They're not in the conversation for the win, but they could pull the 00 of Kelly Causey to the front.
But they're not damaged, right? Like I know Ricky had to serve a penalty, so they're fine.
These are fast cars. They're just a lap down.
Come on, guys. It's just a couple 100 feet.
White flag in the air.
All bets are off. Here we go. Who's going to be the first one back after 2.66 miles? Metallic edges out ahead. Now it's decision time down the back straightaway. Do you go to the middle? Do you stay to the bottom? He'll stay committed to the yellow line.
Bump.
Here comes Schilling.
Big bump there.
Wow. Seminara, massive bump on the low line. That really helped Josh.
It got Wesley clear as well, though. Can Wesley make a move here on the front stretch?
Seminara to the inside of Grant for second.
And that's going to be all she wrote. That's going to be it. Josh Metallic back to victory lane. 4th different winner on the season. The Chevrolet bow ties continue to be dominant here in season 67. And Josh Metallic will be battling for a championship at regular season's end.
I think it was Seminara then Wesley, the podium finishers.
And the biggest wreck of the night after the checkered flag.
3rd straight week, only 1 caution flag.
Metallic came into this race 7th in points, 31 points out of the points lead, was already in a points-paying playoff position. Now he will lock himself into the postseason via a checkered flag. And another driver, kind of similar to Tim Nofsker, who was riding a bit of a winless streak. It was a couple of seasons ago. We ended up seeing Josh Metallic in a must-win situation during the playoffs that went to victory lane, but I think that was back in season 65. So he went with a bit of a winless spell, finally ends that tonight.
And I just noticed a Ryan Newman car going to victory lane at Talladega. That's like ending
the irony wasn't lost on me either.
It's like ending a curse right there.
Specifically at Talladega.
Well, and last Saturday at All-Star Racing League, Josh won here. RTG
yes,
version
he
4.
Did.
Same car.
Yep. Great point.
And that league, ASR, they use this track on loan from RTG, and a lot of RTG guys show up for that race. Go back to Josh Metallicam.
Bob Seminara's going to bring it home in second. I think he was a big part of why Josh won this race. You guys talked about the shove on the back straightaway that got both Metallic and Wesley clear. Wesley's going to get the podium in third.
One of those,
Fleur and Greg Lovell finishing the top 5.
One of those chain bumps you guys talked about earlier on in the race right there. That came in clutch right there for Metallic.
Sure did. Wow, what a battle here in the closing stages. It's almost been like a case of deja vu these last few weeks. Only that one opening yellow, green the rest of the way, and thrilling finishes at the close. Warranting our 4th different winner on the season. The playoff grid is starting to pile up here in the early portion of the regular season with 4 races still left to go. Let's see if we can dial up the drivers that bring it home first, second, and third here tonight. Let's kick things off with one of the former winners on the season, bringing home P3. Let's dial up Grant Wesley. Hey, Grant's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
Yep, I got you.
Wild race here tonight. That early caution kind of setting the tone for green flag racing throughout. You spent a good portion of this race out in that clean air. I believe 18 circuits out in front tonight. And in the conversation for your second win on the season, what little more did you maybe need to do to get around the 39? Because you had the luxury of being clear of everybody else by the time you guys entered into turn 3.
Oh, man. Well, with super speedway racing, you never do know. I mean, it's kind of a guessing game a little bit, but, I was kind of mired in 8th place there on that last run, and it was coming down within the point of no return. And I knew that I wanted to make a move. Just keep an eye on that mirror. I wanted somebody behind me to make the move first and get that bottom lane kind of started. And I seen that, so I moved down, and we just didn't have enough help down there, and there was a hole back in the middle, so I moved up. And then Bob Seminara, he shot down to the bottom. And it's just a matter of getting the right people together towards the front of the lane. And when Bob went down there, man, he's a great pusher. And he had some great pushers behind him at that point. So I definitely knew that if I could get in front of Bob, we can make a effort towards maybe getting a win here. And I got down in front of Bob and Josh, man, he's eagle eye there. He's seen that. So he moved down in front of me, and that was just the position there. We gave it all we had. I was in second, coming off turn 4. I didn't want to ride in second. I was going to roll the dice and see if Bob would go with me and push me by Josh. But, I thought there was a pretty good chance of him going low and picking up one more spot. So not going to hang my head too much.
You talked about wanting to make the move there, and we were kind of trying to dissect everybody in that lead group of who it was that was going to make the move, when they were going to make the move. Obviously, we're not in the race cars. We're up here in the booth trying to figure when we think the best time would be to make a move, and we were looking at you, the 23, a number of you guys that were kind of laying back, it seemed, from the top 5, maybe testing the waters of what kind of a run you could generate. We were looking around 5-6 laps that maybe that might be the time for you guys to make a move. Is there a sweet spot that you guys can determine when it's too early or too late to be able to make a move, or does really it all just really get left up to happenstance?
Pretty much the thing is the later you wait, the more guaranteed you are to have people go with you. That's the way I look at it. So it's just, it's just a waiting game. Some people are less patient, and yeah, it's kind of a waiting game a little bit.
You talk about wanting that second trip to victory lane, but you came in tonight the points leader. After tonight, you're the only driver that has been able to score a top 10 in the first 4 races. We mentioned how in super speedway races of this kind, it is so difficult to establish that kind of consistency. Still 4 races left to go before the playoffs are put together. What does this do for a driver's confidence when we head down the home stretch of a regular season like this, knowing you've been able to net top 10s in all the races so far?
Oh, it's huge. I mean, that's absolutely what I strive for is consistency. I expect to get a top 10 every race, and I feel like that's kind of what it takes to position yourself up front in the seating for the chase. And but yeah, tonight, I was looking at that number 4 car. I seen he was leading there late, and he's second points. And man, he's a tough customer. He's pretty consistent as well. So I was eyeballing him pretty hard there late in this one, kind of seeing him as a person I might have to race for that top spot.
Well, Grant, a great run for you here tonight, bringing it home solidly in the 3rd position. Another top 10 finish for your second top 5 of the season as well, and you will continue to lead the points going into the second half of this regular season. Before we let you go, floor is yours for thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Yeah, congratulations to Josh Metallic on the win. I'd like to thank Sean, Jeremy, Josh, and Jason for kind of keeping everything running behind the scenes. They're kind of the top dogs around here as far as running everything. And man, this is such a great place to race, especially here on Thursdays. I mean, 45, 47 cars every single night. Everyone wants to be here. Everyone's trying to qualify in. The competition, the drivers, man, you just can't beat it. I love racing here. Never take that for granted. I'd like to thank the admins, Josh, Rodney, and Tim. Such a big group, but they run it flawlessly. They got it down to an absolute science. FRN, Tarnation TV, Seth, Kyle, Blaine, thanks for doing what you do, taking time out for us. We appreciate it. My teammates with XFM, my friends and family for watching, and my girlfriend Brittany.
Thanks, Grant.
Grant Wesley, very consistent to start out the regular season. He'll look to close it out strong starting next week. Congratulations on finishing on the podium here tonight at Dega, Grant.
Thanks, guys.
See if we can now get a hold of the driver that brings it home second place. Not only have Chevrolets swept the first 4 races of the season, they swept the podium here tonight. Let's dial up another of those bow ties in Bob Seminara. Hey, Bob, it's the guys up here in the FRN booth and the Tarnation TV booth. You got a copy?
Yeah, I got you guys.
Man, I'll tell you what. We ended up seeing a race where it's the typical. We end up having the green flag pit stops. The field gets spread out. We don't have all that many drivers up in the lead group, and it's very difficult to establish any sort of energy. Not for this 712. I think you were, 10th, 11th position with 7 laps to go, and we saw you motoring around that extreme outside line. Next thing we know, you're up in the top 5, battling for a victory. Talk to me about that adventurous final few laps there.
Yeah, that was fun. Probably good TV. Yeah, I was stuck in 11th with a few guys that got caught a lap down in front of me, and then a couple of good guys behind me. Joe wanted to go 3rd lane. He had Dante, and I got up in front of them, and they pushed hard, and I got up there, got to mix it up with a couple laps to go.
We've seen a number of drivers get off to really good starts this season. You amongst them, 2 top 10s in the first 3 races, 4th in Staines coming into tonight. I know you wanted that 1 position better. You want that automatic lock into victory lane, into the playoffs, but with another solid run here tonight, you just kind of get the feeling that checkered flag is so close on the horizon.
Yeah, knock on wood, everything's been good. Even when I had damage the first race, I got a 15th out of it. So, yeah, everything's, going good. I like this mod. Been running good, pitting pretty well. Yeah, we're right there. So, yeah, I'm ready for it.
3rd straight race where we've seen the opening caution and then a lot of emphasis put on pit road. You mentioned about getting really good pit stops to be able to get these good finishes. Do you feel like this is going to continue to trend this way, where you guys have to survive maybe that opening yellow and then have to execute on pit road the remainder of the race? Or do you think there's going to be a point here where the tide turns and the energy in the field gets a little bit different as the playoffs loom?
I think it's pretty much the same. It depends how the cautions fall, and whether you get freight trained or not. I only got freight trained once on the bottom there, me and Donnie, but we're able to recover. That's the key, getting off pit road and then being in the right lane, whether it's on a restart or when you catch the other guys coming out of the pits. That's why I got trapped on the bottom. But yeah, no, it's going to be like this every week, and it's great. I just love it.
Well, we talked about how we love the creativity of that race car here tonight, incorporating that 7-Eleven logo on the roof and the side of that race car. You put it solidly on the podium here tonight in the second position. Bob, congratulations. And before we let you go, we'll give you the opportunity for thank you sponsors and shout outs.
Yeah, thank you, Seth. I appreciate you, FRN, and Blaine, Tarnation TV, appreciate that. Of course, RTG, John Prime taking over, and all the other guys that help out. I mean, I can't name them all, but I appreciate them all. Miss Bones, and sorry about Bob Dixon, miss him lately. Bernie's Paints, Mobs Motors, FTMF, and Shadows on Fire. And we're ready. We'll be back next week.
That's Bob Seminara. He'll bring it home in second place here tonight. Blaine, I think you wanted to say something?
Oh, I was going to say that's we've used Quentin's music before on Tarnation TV with Shadows on Fire, so check him out on Spotify.
Yeah, buddy. Thanks, Blaine.
Well,
He's
Bob,
watching.
Absolutely. Well, Bob, congratulations. Great run here tonight. Best of luck here the remainder of this regular season. Maybe next week we're talking to you that one position better in victory lane.
I'll be looking forward to that. Have a good week.
Bob Seminara scoring his first top 5 of the season with his third top 10. He'll keep him top 5 in points. Potentially, we'll have to wait for official scoring here. Could be second or third in points going into next week. This driver knows he's locked into the playoffs with his victory here tonight. Let's dial up tonight's race winner from Talladega, Josh Metallic. Hey, Josh, it's the guys up here in the broadcast booth. You got a copy?
I do.
Man, I will tell you what, Blaine accurately talked about the fact that this Ryan Newman throwback car in Talladega, they seem to be a pretty good combination as of late. You put it in victory lane this past Saturday night over at ASR. Tonight, you put it in victory lane here on Thursday nights. I documented about the fact that last week we saw Tim go to victory lane, kind of ending a personal winless streak for himself. You've got about a little over a season winless streak snapped here tonight. Made some really good moves in the closing stages to keep this car out in front.
Yeah, and I think I was top 3 last week, I believe. So I'm on quite a roll. So I'm waiting for the bottom to fall out. Karma always catches up, law of averages, whatever. So I'm riding high while it's going well. But yeah, I kept watching in my mirror, and I saw like 5, 6 to go, something like that. The low line started moving. I thought, no, not yet. Probably fall back, and it did. And then once I saw it moving with like 2, 3 to go, I took the chance. I said, I'm going for it, and if it's the wrong move, I can live with it. But as soon as I did that, I think it went 3 wide, and it kind of got crazy from there. So the last 3 or 4 laps were pretty fun.
Yeah, we saw you, Brian, Chuck, Tim, all working together there, leading the field in the closing stages of this race. You were the third car in line. As you said, you were kind of close to the action there where drivers would potentially be making moves, whether it was to the bottom lane or to the third lane. How difficult a position is that when you're that third or fourth car in line as opposed to maybe being the race leader? Because there's not as much reaction time, I would assume, to be able to play a defensive move.
Yeah, if you're, I think Tim was second, and that's kind of the toughest spot. The third place, fourth place guy, they can make a dive, right at the end of the straightaway and catch the guy ahead of them off guard. The leader, he's far enough up to see it and make some moves to cover. Shillington, I think he felt pretty good in the middle lane, and it looked good for a while. And then once 3 wide breaks loose, you never know. But yeah, I kept watching. I wanted to work with them. They'd worked with me all race, but at the end of the race, you got to go for it. It locks you in, and it's worth the risk, and it paid off this time.
With the checkered flag waving tonight, we're now officially halfway through the regular season, so you're going to get to answer the default question I ask everybody that finds victory lane early on in the regular season. Now with 4 races to go, this win locks you into the playoffs. What is the goal here for the 39 going forward second half?
It's consistency. Every position you finish in the points higher is the equivalent of a win as far as bonus points go into the regular season or the playoffs. So I know a lot of guys will say reckless abandon, crazy risks, but if you finish 30th place, instead of 10th, that affects bonus points going into the playoffs. So it's good to feel like you're locked in as long as you don't have a catastrophic last 4 races, but points still matter because it awards bonuses. So you still got to be consistent, still got to be smart. You can be more aggressive for sure, but you still want those points going into the playoffs.
You also, by virtue of the victory, move on to the next round of the bracket challenge as well. So a lot of things accomplished here with just this one trip to victory lane here tonight. Josh, congratulations on picking up the win here this evening, locking yourself into the postseason. We'll let you get back to your celebrating in a moment. Before we do, we'll turn things over to you for victory lane. Thank you, sponsors, and shout-outs.
Thank you. First off, thanks to Sean Prime, Jason Scheck, Jeremy Jeffries, the owners. Been really good working with them. Tim and Rodney on the Thursday nights. It's a huge task to get this thing running every week. I need them. They keep me keep my head above water with helping run this stuff, and all the drivers that keep showing up. And you just hate seeing guys go home that show up, just want to have fun and race with you. And it's a good problem to have, but it still feels bad. But one caution. I know there's maybe a couple more wrecks. Just thanks to everyone that shows up and puts on this awesome racing.
Well, Josh, congratulations on a job well done here tonight, putting this machine in victory lane, locking yourself into the postseason. We look forward to seeing what you're able to do in these final 4 races of the regular season. Go and enjoy this win.
Now, I forgot to say, Tarnation TV, FRN, thank you guys. These broadcasts, guys love them. They go back and watch them. I watch them every weekend. I'll definitely be watching this one, maybe on repeat. So thanks again.
Thanks,
we
Josh.
enjoy doing them for sure.
Yep.
Josh, congratulations on the victory here tonight at Talladega.
Thank you.
Josh will be the 4th different winner to go to victory lane here this season. And guys, I'm not a betting man, but I feel that we should bet our houses next week on 3 specific things. 1, there will only be 1 caution. 2, Grant Wesley will net a top 10. And 3, a Chevrolet will go to victory lane, because that's been the trend in these first 4 races.
I don't know if I'll bet the house. We just got this house a couple of weeks ago. That's I really don't want to be out in the cold right now, but that's kind of strange. The last 3 weeks. I mean, all of those events that you just mentioned have happened.
Especially the cold. It's supposed to be minus 38 tonight.
Oh gosh,
Celsius, but that's still way too cold. But
anything with a minus in front of it. That's just, I don't care what metric system you're using here.
You heard it here first, folks. Kyle's okay with 0 because it doesn't have a minus in front of it.
Well, I mean, lesser of 2 evils, I guess. But the thing that's surprised me, though, it's just like over the last few weeks, especially, we have a caution early on in the race, and the rest of the way we go green. So can't afford to run into trouble. I know that's easier said than done, but just more emphasis on it.
Yeah, we've only had 1 caution fly in the last 3 weeks. It hasn't meant that we've, in the rest of the race, been without incident. Of course, you could look back to tonight with the Graham McDonald Ron Hagelin incident. It was below the yellow line, didn't bring out a yellow, but we had that. We had some pit road incidents. So even though we haven't had full course yellows, drivers have still had to be on their toes and avoid incidents here. And it was interesting when I asked Bob the question. He says he feels that this is going to continue to be the trend where it may be the early calamity, but then it's going to be all about execution, not making mistakes probably the greater portion of the remainder of the race. With 4 races left to go, you look at a lot of drivers that might find themselves with 2 races to go, or even down to that final race, not necessarily in must-win situations, but in must-perform situations. When you don't have those guaranteed mulligans, those guaranteed do-overs with the benefit of a caution, that's a lot of pressure for a driver.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you know, the more we get into the season, the closer we get to the playoffs. I mean, that's just I think the pressure is just definitely going to intensify.
Points are still close with only 4 races in the book, so there are still a lot of positions that can be gained or lost during the span of any given week. The top 10 in points look entirely different here tonight than they did coming into this evening's race, and I think they will continue to change in these final 4 weeks of the regular season. But this is the halfway point. 4 races left to go, and until we will determine at least the 12 drivers that will battle for this season's championship. 4 drivers have locked themselves in through wins. Will we see potentially another 4 in the next month, or will we maybe see a repeat winner as soon as next week? We will be sure to find that out, as Tarnation TV and Flatout Racing Network will continue to cover the 67th season of the Rolling Thunder Gaming Talladega Challenge Series next Thursday night, 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, scheduled green flag. We thank you for joining us here tonight. Congratulations once again to Josh Metallic on his victory here this evening at Talladega Superspeedway. For Blaine Donlin, Kyle Matthews, I'm Seth Cole. Thanks for joining us here on this Thursday evening as you've been watching another broadcast simulcasted on Tarnation TV and the Flatout Racing Network.